Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is MK, and that is right, my friends. I put on the fancy tie. I didn't do my hair, obviously, or anything like that, because I just don't do that, but I did put on the tie. And the reason I put the tie on is I had some very, very important news to share with you guys to kind of commemorate what is the start of a very, very big moment in the crypto markets. And that news that I wanted to share with you is that the bull market is officially not here yet. Sorry to psych you guys out with that. However, in a more somber tone, the reason that I wanted to mention that is that, in my opinion, I know a lot of people are probably going to think, hey, Bitcoin's approaching 30K, bull market on, new all-time high in the next 2 months, right? Well, I just wanted to point out in today's video that I don't believe that to be the case. I do believe this could be one of the final major bear market rallies before maybe some more sideways boring action, before we ultimately grind our way back into the next bull run or bull market, which I do believe is coming. I just don't think it's here yet. That being said, I do think we have something just as exciting around the corner, like really close around the corner, and I believe that's everybody's favorite thing in crypto, which is called an altcoin season. I do believe we have one of those on the horizon. I'll discuss that in today's video. But before we dive into the content, I want to do a quick plug to a giveaway that I'm doing on my channel through this next week. We partnered with BITGET on the channel recently, and we did a giveaway last week, and we're doing a giveaway this week and part of next. I'll go ahead and roll that now. Yes, that is correct, my friends. We are doing our second giveaway on the channel since our recent partnership with the crypto exchange known as BitGet. This one's going to be pretty simple. There are 2 rules. Rule number 1, you need to use the link in my description to create a BitGet account. For those of you that have done this in the past, no need to do it again. You're already halfway qualified for this giveaway. Number 2, you're going to upload $500 to that account. You don't necessarily need to trade with it right away. You just need to upload it to the account, and between setting up the account using my link and adding the $500, you will qualify for the giveaway. Then on Wednesday, March 22nd, I'm going to be drawing 5 winners that qualified by following the rules that I just previously mentioned, using the link in the description, as well as uploading $500. And those 5 winners are each going to get 50 USDT added straight to their BitGet account that they can then use to start trading with. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you's support. Good luck, and thank you, BitGet. Now, just remember, guys, we're going to be doing a lot of videos on the channel going forward about BitGet, about their exchange, how to do the copy trading, how to do regular spot trading, regular future trading, and so forth. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and get your account created if you want to follow along, get a little bit of money uploaded, and then, you know, of course, you can follow along with some of the videos and trades and things that I'll be doing on my channel in the near future. Now, back to the matter at hand, we're going to go ahead and dive into today's content, which is just a quick market update and, you know, some evidence to support this potential altcoin season that I believe is just around the corner. And if that sounds interesting to you, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. So the first place we want to start is just a very, very quick update on the SPX, which is the S&P 500. Now, granted, the S&P 500 hasn't done a whole lot in the past couple of days, which, you know, we've often mentioned on the channel that this is the driver in many ways for Bitcoin and the crypto market, but it has remained stable enough that, you know, Bitcoin has kind of gotten some legs under it, and, you know, I guess the stock market hasn't wrecked that momentum, so to speak, but there are some good things on the S&P 500 as well, which could lead Bitcoin to continue its rally, at least in the short term. Now, the biggest thing we've talked about on the channel for months is that recently we broke out of this large falling wedge that had been resistance for better than a year. It broke out. Most recently, we retested it once, pushed higher, and then we just barely retested it for a second time. Now, there will be a lot of things that we'll be following and tracking on this chart in the coming weeks as it relates to sustaining the run in crypto. There's not a whole lot to talk about in the short term other than we've got, like I said, the second retest. Right now, we're trying to get back above this yellow 200 SMA, which is the 200 simple moving average. Clearly, we dipped below it just a little bit as we retested kind of this larger wedge. But one thing I want to point out that is good, at least in the short term. Now, keep in mind, the S&P 500 just closed for today, at least where I'm at here in the United States. It's open Monday through Friday. It does not trade over the weekend. So, you know, it closed somewhat stable, which is good for Bitcoin for the weekend. However, we won't really know what this is going to do until Monday when the traditional markets open again. But one thing that is, I guess, a positive is if we double click and we come down here and look on our RSI, if you look at this last swing, you have this low, and then hold on, let me get rid of this this scribble scrabble that I put on the chart here real quick. So what you have is a low and a little bit of a higher low. Go ahead and change that to yellow. And if you come down here on the RSI, on that same swing, you have a low and a lower low. So what this is called is hidden bearish divergence, or sorry, hidden bullish divergence. It's not class A, but it is class B or type B, which is not as strong as type A. Type A would be that you have a lower low on price action, but a higher low on the RSI. But more or less what it means that even though the momentum, which is what the RSI is, it's a strength, it's a momentum indicator, relative strength index is what RSI stands for. Even though the momentum put in a lower low, which is down here, you know, down around the 30 level, price action wasn't able to put in a lower low. So the two didn't match up. At this point, you would expect the RSI to kind of round out and begin to bounce, and price action, of course, should do the same. So what I guess I'm getting at is that from a TA perspective, the fact that it was able to retest this wedge, it was able to keep this green zone that we talked about in one of our previous videos as a support level that needed to hold, and we have this hidden bullish divergence, it all kind of stacks up to mean that next week, at least when the traditional stocks open again, you could see a bit of a short-term bounce, maybe 1 to 2 days for this to play out. This is the daily chart, so of course it's going to play out a little bit slower, but that's a good thing. It means we could have a few days to start next week that we could see a bit of a sustained bounce. So then that brings us over to the Bitcoin daily chart. Now, a couple of things that I had been tracking, which kind of came to fruition actually today, is we had this large falling wedge that basically began back in August, so summer of last year in 2022. We broke out in early January of this year. Again, taking the measured move of that. If I can actually click on the right thing, drag this to the point of the breakout. And what you have is this target up here at about 26, basically 27,000. Very, very close to 27,000 right on the nose, which as of earlier today, or I guess yesterday in Bitcoin world, it hit. So we've actually hit kind of the major target. So the question, I guess, from this point is, where do we go from here? Well, in the short term, realistically, 30K is kind of our big psychological resistance. It's also a major regular horizontal area of resistance, especially if we scroll out, you kind of see that clearly. The last bull market when we had the huge dump in May of 2021, 30K essentially or just below is kind of where it found support between 29 and 30K before ultimately rallying to a new all-time high. And then most recently back in May, again, of course, good old May of 2022, we spent some time there before, plunging below 30K. That being said, it's just kind of, to me, the order of operations, it just kind of would make sense for us to try to test that at some point. Do I think we have the legs to go plunging through it right at the moment? Most likely not, and especially not over the weekend. I think we kind of possibly range this weekend. Maybe we take a run up to 29K or 28.5K. I mean, we're really not that far from it. But I would imagine that, the price action is more likely to range as we kind of wait over the weekend till Monday to see what the traditional stocks do. Can they remain steady or possibly have the bounce that we spoke about earlier in the video? And, at that point, I would expect Bitcoin to take a run at 30K. That being said, I'm not entirely sure we would break through it right off the bat. I mean, of course, anything's possible. This rally has really been a lot more powerful than I would have expected it to be. I mean, there was a lot of things pointing in the direction of this rally. I even posted in my Telegram group that when this breakdown or pullback happened from about a little over 25K, clear back down to 19,600, I mentioned that on the daily chart, it could just be a huge retest of this yellow 200 simple moving average, which if you zoom in, you can see that we almost hit right on the button. And then at that point, we've just been upward like crazy in the past, 5 or 6 days. But there is two things that I want to mention that are the most important to me as it relates to where we're at right now in crypto, and especially those of you that are hoping for the altcoin season that I prefaced at the beginning of this video. So first thing I want to mention is that over the next few months, if the S&P 500 can continue to hold the support that it broke out of that wedge and maybe grind sideways and slowly start to work its way up over the course of 2023, in crypto, or at least Bitcoin, you have this huge inverse head and shoulders. I'm pretty sure probably a lot of people have spotted this. And it's just a pattern that in a lot of ways can be bullish as long as it forms correctly. What I mean by that is what you have is you have this left shoulder, you essentially have a head, and you have a right shoulder. The first thing that you want to see structurally, obviously, is that the head is the deepest price action. That's where we found our lows at about 15,500. For it to be more bullish, you want the right shoulder to be higher than the left. So what I mean by that is you don't want to see a head and shoulders where it's something like this, where the right shoulder is a lot lower than the left shoulder. If you look over here, the left shoulder actually found its bottom at about just under 18,000, about 17,700, and the right shoulder was this bounce off the 200 SMA recently at about 19,700. So it's about $2,000 higher, which to me is more of a textbook inverse head and shoulders. So anyway, I wanted to put that on your radar. I'll show you the measured move for that real quick. Basically what you do is you take the bottom of the head all the way up to what's called the neckline, which in this case would just be where both shoulders kind of found their top, which is another thing for this pattern to be kind of valid. You want to see a very, very defined area that was rejected at the left shoulder, rejected before making the right shoulder. So that becomes what's called the neckline. And the measured move for that, if we take this is going to be kind of crazy. Not something that I would expect to play out anytime in the near future. However, it's something to keep on our radar as the crypto market has been looking kind of bullish. And where is that target? It's up about up at about 36,600. So think about that. From where we're at now, we've already seen a pretty darn big rally, but that would be like another 32.5%. However, we could talk more about that in future videos, as to me it's just not really relevant right now. Really what I want to see is at some point a retest of this inverse head and shoulders. So as long as we could hold above 25, we'll just call it 25,300-ish area. I mean, it really is a zone between about 25 even up to about 25.5. We need to hold that as support. So if we see some sort of a pullback, anytime over this next week or so, as long as we put in yet another higher low and hold that huge inverse head and shoulder neckline as support, at that point, it's upward and onward in my eyes. And if anything, Bitcoin, if it wants to just rage, right now it kind of has support at about 27,000. We're only barely above that, but the longer we range above that, the better as well. But really what this is setting up for as we jump to the next chart is Bitcoin. A lot of people, when Bitcoin first makes rallies like this, money starts pouring into Bitcoin, right? It gets all of the attention. Well, at a certain point, Bitcoin kind of runs out of steam, and the thing that you want to see is you want to see it kind of consolidate or find some sort of a boring range. The more boring, the better, because at that point, as I show you this next chart, it really gives a chance for money to basically go out of Bitcoin, or at least kind of transition a bit from Bitcoin over to the altcoins. And this will be the chart that I'll be leaving you guys off on for today. This is the Bitcoin dominance chart. This is the daily chart. Now, I will leave a link in the description to a video that I put out probably about a year ago at this point that really does a deep dive into the entirety of Bitcoin dominance. If it's something that's new to you, I'd suggest watching that video. Again, the link will be in the description. But what I can say just very, very, generically about this chart is, generally speaking, when it's going up, that's bad for altcoins. When it's going down, that's good. Now, it's not always as simple as that. There's a lot more nuances to it. But generally speaking, another way of looking at it is when it's going up, attention's more in Bitcoin, whether that means good attention or bad attention. It just means more money is flowing in or out or whatever to Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin dominance is going down, more attention's on the altcoins. So that being said, if you just look at this chart, which is, again, daily, so we're kind of looking at a range that dates back to May of 2021. You can see the top of this blue zone that I have has been basically where Bitcoin dominance has found major levels of resistance, and the flip side of that, kind of down at the bottom, has been where it's found supports. And the simplest way of looking at this from a altcoin perspective is that the moves that have went to the upside have either been, they basically are what we call Bitcoin seasons. Whether that means Bitcoin's actually going up is a different story. My other video explains that a little bit better, but it more or less means that all of the attention is on Bitcoin anytime you have these impulse waves higher. And most of the time, in fact almost all of the time that this is going down, you usually see some pretty good movement out of the altcoins. In fact, these moves to the downside are usually what we in crypto refer to as altcoin seasons. So this is definitely something we'll be tracking over the next couple of videos. To me, this could be a very, very big opportunity to trade some of your favorite altcoins, and we'll obviously cover some specific altcoins on this channel. I started a series recently where I've been covering my top 10, basically favorite altcoins for the bear market to accumulate. I made a video the other day about VRA, Veracity. That's the only one I've made so far. So clearly, as we approach what could be an altcoin season, I'll try to pump out some of those videos as well. But what I wanted to leave you off on is just, if you look over here the last few times it's interacted with this blue zone, it's almost always went to the top of it. Does it have to? This time around, not necessarily, but let's just say that it does. Let's just say it goes from about where it's at now, which is 46.5%, on up to about 47, almost 48%. What that could look like for Bitcoin might be, the test of 30K. Maybe it even breaks 30K and, flirts with 32K, which is another level of resistance, right? You could see one final pump out of Bitcoin dominance as the market pays more attention to Bitcoin. But then at that point, we would be looking for this to find some resistance and start trending this way. And the way that you'll know you're basically getting a potential altcoin season is if Bitcoin is able to hold support, range, the borier the better, as long as it's not, dumping to the downside, money will start to flow into the altcoins, and you'll start to get some of the best, movement out of some of your favorite coins at that point. So anyway, I just wanted to put that on your radar. For those of you that have been in crypto a while, I'm sure like me, these are our favorite times. We look forward to potential altcoin seasons just because altcoins obviously do bigger multiples than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has done some pretty melt-facing, price action over the past week or so. I think it's up like 30 some odd % from when it retested the 20,000 all the way up to almost 28,000 now. However, if you think that's crazy, wait and see what altcoins are able to do if Bitcoin stays steady and we get some sort of a move over the next, several months like we got back here. And then one final chart I wanted to quickly put on your radar. We'll obviously cover this a little bit deeper over the next day or two. This is the total 2 chart. It's just a chart that represents the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. So it's all of the altcoins, Ethereum and all the altcoins combined. In this case, there's $612 to $613 billion between Ethereum and all the altcoins. I wanted to point it out or put it on your radar because if you look here, we kind of have our own little inverse head and shoulders that is happening on this chart as well. Right now, we're at the resistance, which is the neckline, right? If we were to break out of this, over the next few months, if we get a, kind of an epic altcoin season, the measured move for this pattern would put the crypto market potentially up here somewhere around $780 billion, which would be like an influx of around 25 to 28%, a move to the upside. So that would clearly be a lot of money coming into altcoins specifically. And we'll talk more about that obviously in the next couple days videos, but I just wanted to put that on your radar as just one other thing that kind of supports the idea should this break out for an altcoin season. I appreciate each and every one of you that stuck around to the end of the video. As always, if you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. I do my best to reply back to each and every one of those. And on your way out, if you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one. It's